Before we get started, for those of you who are here in person, those of you who are on the internet, and my brothers and sisters who have begun to follow us from Kenya, I have to ask a question. When you think of God, is your faith in God because he is God or because of the things that he's done for you? It may seem like a conundrum of a question, but it goes to the fact of why are you serving God? Is it because that you know him or it's because of a give and take relationship? Because we all should be worshiping, praising, and following God just because he is God, because he's the creator, not because he's giving us something. Okay? So I ask you, why do you have faith in God? Deacon Goodman, you look like you got something to say. Go ahead. Go ahead. All right. Okay.
And I believe in him because his word never fails.
All right.
And he expressed people so many times,
Okay.
so many times that I don't know how I came to what I got, what I need, but I always received what I needed to keep me going.
All right.
I truly believe in him. I trust in him. And I know Jesus loved us so much that he gave his son for us.
All right.
I still make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes till I die.
Mm-hmm.
But he still rescued us and gave us repentance.
Okay. He knows our hearts. All right. Uh-huh. All right.
It's simple. People get hurt. People die. We blame God. Why you take me? Why you take my sister? Why you take my mother? It's not my, I can ask. But the point is, do you believe in me? Mm-hmm. No one comes until I call them. And I truly believe he called everybody that's dying, he let them know. So they can get that thing together. It just ingrained in my spirit, in my heart, and my soul. And I trust that man. I'm going to trust him until I die. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to ask him, please forgive me. But sometimes, time you make a mistake or say the wrong thing, your mouth will holler, Lord, no, forgive me for that. I didn't mean that. But sometimes you do get frustrated and get out of line.
Yes.
But you have to think the time you get it wrong, you can't. Right. And be truthful. So you can't fool that man. You cannot fool him. I don't know why people try to have faith in him, drink all that look and say they ain't doing it. Smoking cigarettes, say they not doing it for them trusting their God. And they doing everything they want to do. But they believe that they can keep doing things and God will forgive them. But they don't understand that everything you do got to reverse. And
yes.
You're going to be punished. God will punish you just like he punished his children. Just like we punish our children. Father punish their children when they do wrong. God do the same thing to us.
Yes, he does.
And he's going to try to tribulate and get us right. I just feel him. I know him.
Okay. Okay. You convinced me. Okay, so not to harp on that point. You said a couple of great things in that. One of the things that I came out of it was that regardless of whatever he had done for you personally, you can see what he's done around you in spite of who you are and what you've done or will do because he knows your heart. So I ask y'all this question because I got a little time today. We can really work this thing out. In the 12th verse, where it says, who has measured the waters in the hollows of his hand and the breadth of his hand marked off the heavens? Can you quantify the power or the awesomeness of God? No, really say, we say no, because one is the way we were trained to think. But we all know our human nature and how we were trained in school and on our jobs. We have to have an end, a beginning, and an end. So I ask you this. If it was somebody on the street asking you, how do you quantify the awesomeness of God? How could you answer that? And it's right here in verse 12. How would you quantify? See, this goes to developing your faith in God or having an understanding of God. This is how I would answer it. When I look at the earth in this spherical form, I look at all the waters of this world, Deaconess Bell. I cannot understand, even with the canopy effect of the earth before the flood, how all this water that God had put here has stayed here with the evaporation and all the things we know scientifically. But God has some kind of way allowed the earth to maintain all these millions and trillions and gazillions gallons of water to sustain life. So he is more than that. And then when I think about the sky, we're always finding out with all these rockets, Deacon Bell, that they're sending out and trying to explore the universe. They continue to go further and further, mapping new stars. So it has to have been something greater than our minds could fathom to be more. And even with the beginning and the end of the Big Bang effect and all these other theories that they have, there has to have been someone there at the beginning. And when you read Genesis 1:1, what does it say, Deacon? In the beginning, God created what? The heavens and the earth. No. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yes, that is true.
How can a meter fall from the sky, producing a thing with some clearly say fire thing and burning something holding there? People do stupid stuff kind of this. They have not did anything with God's word yet. They still working on it.
Okay.
But think about the fact of how great God is because he got so much power. He is so everywhere. He knows how to do everything. Can't nobody do that but him.
Okay. I agree with you totally. But the question was, how could you quantify or answer the question of how good God is? Now, verse number 20, the second part of that says, who has held the dust of the earth in a basket or weighed the mountains on the scales and the hills in balance? I know it's who else but God. But see, that's because we know. But see, the focus of the lesson is to understand our faith in God. That is the understanding so that we understand the power of God. That is what we're focusing on this morning. Okay, we can go through and say our beliefs and our focuses on us and how God also we know God is, but the focus is to prove it so that when we're asked this question, because you will be asked this question in some form or fashion, then you'll have some ammunition or some information to give to this believer who has questions or this non-believer. So in the second part of this scripture that Isaiah puts out here, it says, who has held the dust of the earth in a basket and weighed the mountains on the scales in a balance? Now, in the explanation of this particular part, it says, Isaiah questions as an answer so obvious that it should not have been stated. The verb translated as held implies something like contained. Now, when you think of containing something, means that you hold it in place. Now, let me help you understand something, and I know you all probably already know this. In the atmosphere, we got wind, whether it's blowing strong or light. And when the wind blows, particles move. Okay, and then once again, with the evaporation effect of the world being drawn up and dropped back down, particles will move. Now, imagine this. If God didn't have the clouds in the sky, where would these particles go? They would continue to go up. If he didn't have the spirit, the containment of the earth, the atmosphere, before you get to heaven, the layers, everything would be drawn up. But the gravity that God has placed on the earth holds everything in place. Even if there was not some form of gravity here on the earth, we would be floating around. Am I right? Now, and we've seen the TV shows, and I'm sure you've watched some of the adventure shows of the Marvel comics and all of that stuff, but how they get into the atmosphere, and we know it from NASA, that the further you go up, the thinner light the air gets, and if you was ever to come back down, because of the atmospheric pressure, you would burn. So God contains things in place. And imagine somehow God, when he spoke and formed the mountains back in Genesis, and he created the mountains, how much did it cost, or how much did it cost his power to, I don't know how he did it. I like to say he took his fingers like this, Dick, and pushed up parts of the earth and made the mountains. And when we think about going west, going across 81, and we get to the Appalachians, and we see the majestic of the Appalachian Mountains, or you go to New York and see the Adirondacks, or you go out west into the Colorado Rockies, or even around here, we have some hills that are higher than others. Imagine the power that it took to create these different levels on the earth, to hold things in place, and to keep the dust when the wind blows, although it may circle around, it stays here on the earth. God is an awesome God. He's powerful, and for him to be able to contain that, not just from the beginning to now. And scientists, through their discovery of fossils and things, say we've been here, what, billions of years? So just imagine that, Dr. Spradley, billions of years. Everything that we see has been here. Over time, things have changed, just like life, but it's still here. Now, verse number 13, who can fathom, hold on, who can fathom the spirit? You might want to jump in on this one before you say that. Who can fathom the spirit of the Lord, or instruct the Lord as his counselor? Nobody. So what is, or who is the spirit of the Lord? I don't want to say what is, because I know he's an actual being with a personality and characteristics and attributes. So I can't say it. So the spirit of the Lord, Deaconess Bell, how would you describe the spirit of the Lord? Not his power, but the spirit of the Lord. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. Mm-hmm. All right. All right. All right. All right. I like this explanation.
Okay, you can't stop that. God created that. It's up to him to put the sun out here, the clouds out here, the rain out here. And it's up to him to do that. We have no control over that.
Okay.
No power over that.
Okay.
You have no power over what he does. Otherwise, I can say to myself, being black and poor, right here in Virginia, if it was something that man could do, we probably wouldn't see no sun.
Yeah. Okay.
No, what? Man has no control over that.
Okay. I like the way you put that because you hit on the explanation that's here. You said,
see, when I speak to children, I speak on their terms, how they see, and I try to see things with other eyes that's not mine. And that was one of the things, you know, children like to go out and play in the rain. That's what I do.
okay.
They like to get in the rain before.
Yes, yes. See, I wanted to show you how you work this out. And Isaiah 7:2, it talks about the wind. You use the wind, and then you work it out and you talked about the breath. Then you, as you were talking about, God knows, that's his attitude or his knowledge of what needs to be done when, his attitude. And that formulates the mind concept. Now, we know, well, I don't know if you know, but I'm hoping that you know that when we talk about the spirit of us as humans, we're talking about the part of us that is connected to God that makes the decision part. Now, we say heart sometimes, but the heart is the key to the soul, and the soul is that heart that formulates who we truly are, whether you're associated with God or associated with the adversary. And that's a mindset. And from that mindset, you have an attitude of confidence or an attitude of being defeated. And then you understand the characteristics that God placed in you, where words and actions make a difference, makes a difference. So we have to be careful of how we speak to and about people and for people, but most importantly, for God. See, it's not our mindset that we speak from, but it's our faith and relationship in God that we should speak from. Now, I don't want to, how much time I got? 32 minutes. Okay. Now, verse number 25, we drop down to 25. So you see in 12 and 13, we have taken and look at God and pretty much take him to the court, as it says in the book, to say, okay, they say he's God. But why? We identify that because he created everything, and from him everything came. He did it from his word, and from his word actions came. And I have faith in God or belief in God being God who he is, not because of what he's done for me personally, but because I can see around me all that he's done, and it's according to the word. And I can go back through the word and walk you through it if we had time, the things that God has done and created and shown us his presence in the world. Now, 25. To whom will you compare me? Compare me, or who is my equal? Dr. Spratley, I know you got an answer for us right there. Whom can you compare God to?
But I can't compare man to God.
Okay, so then I'm going to play an advocate. Hold on one second. I see your hand. I'm going to play an advocate. I'm going to play the adversary's advocate here. Why not? Why not? Because, wait a minute, because I'm here in this world too. After all, I'm the prince of darkness. You know, I'm the prince of the air. Don't nothing get to God unless it come through me. I control the airways of the TV and the radio. I'm so influential in your school system, on your jobs. So how can I not be equal to God? Do you understand the question? So now, because I'm a non-believer right now, and I want you to tell me if I'm serving the crystals and doing yoga and lining up my chakra and burning sage and all these things that I like to do that make me feel good, how can what I'm doing, and I'm creating my own atmosphere, how can that not be equal to this God you're talking about?
Whatever you do, ossified, you can't compare. Shattered. The things could be taken away. But you can't compare God. God is God.
Okay.
Somehow, God wants to step in.
Okay. Deacon is Barry. Mm-hmm. Right.
Satan went his own way. So here, as we live, we have to realize that Satan is still moving around with that power.
Mm-hmm.
But his power is not as great as God's power.
Okay. You're right there. You're right there.
Nobody but God.
Okay.
Unless you will use his son Jesus Christ was the person who walked in this earth.
Okay.
That was an example
Okay.
of how to walk in the characteristics that you should have. Should carry.
Mm-hmm.
You can be fooled. Because we're hearing a lot of this false preaching and a lot of this false guidance. And we need to know it. And the only way you're going to know it is to read the word.
Okay. Okay.
There is no body on earth for you to compare to God. But you can't forget that Satan still moves around with all that power. Yeah. Like you said, in the school system and everywhere else, in our churches. Mm-hmm. Everything is falling apart because we are following the wrong God.
Okay. 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 Yes. How? That is important that you said that, because I've used that analogy before in preaching. I see your hand over on my right. I've used that analogy before, but explain to us. You said my car. How could your car be a God? Uh-huh.
I don't let nobody drive. It's mine.
Okay.
So I can just put all of me in my car.
Okay. Okay.
That was a precious thing. And many blacks didn't have cars.
Okay.
But they went to the lake to wash their cars every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You put your finger on it because they out there with the rain trying to wipe it off. It can be a time. Now what happens when somebody runs into you and hit?
Yes.
Gone.
Gone.
So you not feeding in our children. They're not yours. They're gone. He only allow you to birth them. Bring them here. But if you raise them and bring them up as he says,
Mm-hmm.
we shouldn't have no problem.
Okay.
If we follow his guideline. When we have them, he give them back to him.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And then you raise them that way. They're not yours.
Correct.
You walk around here and claim them they're mine. I did that too, but I did mine different. Yeah, they're mine because God gave them to me. But he gave me instructions.
All right.
On how to raise my children.
Correct.
So I was protective over my children. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And now I don't have no problems. But when you bring them up in that way, oh man, they're mine, they're gonna do what they want to do, blah blah blah. You got a problem.
Okay. Okay, Minister Hart, and then I'm going to say something based on what she just said. You might even answer it for me. Go ahead. Okay. There you go. There you go. All right. That sums it. And I wanted to say this, piggyback off of both of you said, that yes, because you brought up this Satan and God in heaven, and Satan coveting what God had and thinking that he was better than God or just as good as God. But remember, Satan got defeated. and kicked out. So all this power, which is not power, it's coercion and manipulation, smoothness of talking of the tongue is really what it is. And that's his mode of deception.
That's where we give Satan the power.
There you go. See, we give him what we perceive as giving him power or influence over us. But Satan can't create, nor can he take away, as you said, without the permission of God. So he has no power, but his manipulative influence of the mindset gives us the false reality that he has power. Because when you think, I'm just going to say this, because I mentioned it, when you think of these crystals and all these things, they don't have power, but they're used as transference points of allowing spirits to come into our realm. That's how they get their access. And that's a whole nother story, another teaching. Now, so we know that we can't compare anything or anybody to God. Then number 26 says, lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all these? He who brings out the starry hosts one by one. Deacon Bell, I know you've been a man on this earth for quite some time, correct? And you've had some moments where, you know, God forbid, or marriage forbid, I don't want to say God forbid, marriage forbid, you had to get away. And you had to go out sometimes at the midnight hour or the late night hour and just think. And you looked up at the night sky with its beautiful hues of dark blues and purples mixed together to make it almost look black. And you looked up there and you saw these sparkles in the sky, these stars. Have you ever thought about the amount of effort that it would take to strategically plan and hang each star in its place? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, now you working with something. Nobody but God can do this. Can do this. Nobody but God. Oh, the starry hosts one by one. And you know, even when we think about the formations, I try to stay away from using the word astrological because then that gets people into a whole nother realm. But we know the Big Dipper. You know, we just use the Big Dipper because that's not really attached to anything. The Big Dipper, when we look up and we see it, and as you said, they have the North Star on the handle. And that shines brighter than the rest of the panhandle and the actual bowl. You know, it's amazing how you said that he would put that North Star there. And when we think about the North Star, even though it's connected to that, but our forefathers and foresisters followed that North Star to freedom. Y'all get that later when y'all going down to eat Piccadilly or somewhere. But who could have did that in the awesomeness of God being able to, as you poetically put it, come up with the concept of hanging stars like that and not close, because if those gases were to mix, they would cause an explosion. And we know that from what he's allowed us to find out through science. Now, can you think of any other wonders of visual, miraculous things that God has placed? I know one that I've seen myself. That comes from me traveling. Is there, you may have been somewhere and you saw something so beautiful that it just, you remember it to this day. And let's not use the rainbow because we can see those quite a bit. They up there for a reason, and it's not the reason that the alphabet community has put it there for. I've seen yes, it's a promise God made, but I've seen the Northern Lights in Montana. That is beautiful. And when I visited my daughter when she was in Alaska, the night lights in Alaska, so beautiful. So beautiful. But I've also seen the sunrise and sunset over the mountaintops. And it's amazing how right here in our area, if you were to get up on any day and God allows the sun to shine that morning, if you look right across the Monitor Merrimack, you'll see God, how he has painted the horizon early in the morning. Or at night as he's turning off the daylight and turning on our nightlight, how he has made such a wonderful, wonderful spectacle of our horizon. And you can see those starry hosts as they begin to shine through. It's amazing. Go ahead. Okay, here we go. Your minds are working now. Go ahead. Yes. Mm-hmm. That is so true.
How about Mexico? And looking up at the stars, and they look different. They look different for different array than what I'm used to.
Okay. Okay. And you had a vision? Yes.
That us.
Yes.
So he had his empathy all this right together, put together. And some had said before that they tried to make them there's before the high one people to count stuff, how they could be. He told them each whatever he did, he did.
Okay.
But he knows what's going to be in this part of the earth, he knows what's going to be in this part of
Okay.
because he made everything
in decency and in order.
There's so much about that nobody on this planet, on this world, don't know who God is. They just won't accept who he is. They won't believe because they're in the world. They are part of the devil's
agenda. Yes.
I don't believe how you talk, they not gonna believe, but they will go around and convince you that if you're trying to be in the realm of the spiritual world, these people gonna come after you because they know you. They're devil people. They know your desire, your flesh, how your flesh reacts to certain things, and then how they control you and get you to leave Jesus Christ. But it's up to you. It's up to you. He give you a choice.
Yes, it does.
You don't want no robots.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay, we be right along with you. We follow along with you. But I want to say something that in our Sunday school lesson that's very important. Very important. In the explanation of this verse, listen to what the writer says. Isaiah calls attention to the heavens as he did previously in Isaiah 40 and 12, and we'll do it again in 51:6. Watch this. Worship of the starry host was explicitly forbidden, and that's found in Deuteronomy 4:19. But it happened anyway. Second, we find that in 2 Kings 17, 16, 23:5. With the promised punishment that followed. And we find the punishment in Jeremiah 8 and 12. Avoiding such idolatry begins with realizing that there's a creator behind the stars. Nehemiah 6. Now, I mentioned earlier the astrological signs. And there's some people who live by their zodiac sign. They live by that. And their zodiac sign controls their life. And as Deacon Bell talked about the car, it becomes their God or how they function in the world. And that is a form of idolatry. Just like the car could be our TV, could be our house. She even mentioned the children. You know, it could be the edifice of the church. It could be our position in the church. The idolatry of putting anything before God is a sin, and it will pull you away from your relationship or having faith in God. Now, because our time is coming up, let's move real quickly. I want to get down to this last verse. You know, we should not be complaining about what God does, you know, but we tend to, you know, because we want things our way or what we've been trained to think is the right way or our way. And we have no disregard for God. She mentioned it earlier. I mentioned it earlier with the way life is now and school systems and everything. We've taken God out of so much that when we took God out, the world has become chaotic. And while we're living in chaos, the adversary is living in structured chaos. Oh, I wish we had time right there because we could really pull it out. Now, it says, do you not know, verse number 28, have you not heard that the Lord is the everlasting God? And each one of you have said that God is eternal. We've talked about it for billions of years. God has been God. God has been in his high holy place, and the earth is being controlled by God, although the adversary wants you to think that he is controlling it. It's by God. We talked about the containment effect. We talked about his power of hanging the stars in the skies, the mountains, the rivers flowing, holding the water here. And we talk about how the Atlantic and the Pacific don't mix, but they come together. It's amazing what God can do. Then if we had the time, we talk about your body structure, how God formulated you. And although we don't do everything we're supposed to do for our body, like we don't do in life, God allows us and keeps us living because the body will regenerate itself even with a little bit. That's the power of God when he created Adam from the beginning and he breathed life into Adam. He breathed more than just air. He breathed his DNA. And we talk about the spirit. The spirit that he gave us is just like his spirit. It's eternal, but our bodies is not going to last forever. Now, he says, he will not grow tired or weary. Yes, Steve. Okay. I know. That's why I wanted to get to this last little verse. It says that we will, let's skip on down to it says, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. If you have hope in God, you ready, Carlton? If you have hope in God, don't worry, because your faith in the power of God will sustain you. It will keep you, and you will be able to soar through, or in other words, you'll be able to walk and not get tired. It may come at you, may beat you down, but if you have faith in God, you know that no matter what the devil does to you here on earth, it will not last because God is in control. I got to go. Carlton is on you.